And welcome to this week's episode of the UFO Show, brought to you by Bet99.com on the Area 51 Sports Network. This week, it's just me, unfortunately. Andy can't be here, but we do have a special guest from Van Slam on the Area 51 Sports Network, as well as Trust the Process at the movies 10 years later. And am I missing anything, Jay Bowman?
The NEW Wrestle Nation.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, but you get
Yes.
most of them. That's good. I appreciate that. Hi, everybody.
Hi. So we do have Jay Bowman on with us this week. You know, big Philadelphia 76ers. So we're going to talk a lot of basketball.
Yeah.
But before we
I'm here to provide a completely balanced, unbiased opinion on how this NBA season's going to go.
While wearing all 76ers gear.
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Before I jump into basketball, people would say that you're a cinematic connoisseur of sorts. Is that fair to say?
If we're getting towards Toy Story 2 and a discussion about that, then fair beans. But yes, cinematic connoisseur is fair.
So I do have a question. There are 4 very anticipated movies coming up in the next couple months. So I want you to rank them from most excited to least excited here.
Oh, okay. Can I ask can I predict what's gonna be on this list?
Sure.
Okay. Spider-Man No Way Home is gonna be on that list.
Yeah.
Matrix 4 is gonna be on that list.
No.
Oh.
I completely forgot about that.
All right, if you want to do 5, we'll do 5. Dune on the list?
Yep.
Is Eternals on the list?
Yep.
And is West Side Story on the list?
No.
Okay.
So the 4 I had was Spider-Man,
yep.
Eternals,
yep.
Dune, and the new Ghostbusters that was supposed to come out, a year and a half ago.
Interesting. Well, we're going to see that now. We're like, all these movies that were supposed to be out ages ago. I'm still just sitting here patiently waiting for Top Gun Maverick. All right. So as far as ranking those go, I'm going to go ahead and put Ghostbusters right there on the bottom. When you break it down, there's only really one good Ghostbusters movie. The first one's great. Second one's okay. And then the female-led Ghostbusters had its moments, but it wasn't very good. And I'm just, not enamored with the Ghostbusters franchise just based off of that one, albeit fantastic movie, but one movie. So we're going to go Ghostbusters there on the bottom. And then I'm going to go Dune is next. Here's the thing. Yeah, movie guy, but I do have some gaps, which always surprise people. I've never seen any variation of a Dune before. So, and I was going to watch the old Kyle MacLachlan one, but I've decided that, nope, this will be my first foray into the world of Dune. So I'm excited to watch it and see what the hype is about. Denis Villeneuve, awesome filmmaker, was very adamant this needs to be seen on the big screen. So visually, this thing's going to be amazing. IMAX or bust, as far as I'm concerned. So I am excited about Dune. For number 2, I'd probably go with the Eternals. I'm a big comic book guy also, and I love all the Marvel stuff, but I am very unfamiliar with the Eternals, with the characters, the story, the background, and it is rare that I get to watch a Marvel movie where I know little to nothing about the characters or the background. So I'm excited to kind of piece that together as I'm watching it. Like Shang-Chi, I didn't know a ton about that either, and that was a really good watch, as opposed to, if I'm watching a Spider-Man or Thor's or Iron Man's or any of that stuff, I have a lot of background on the characters, storylines, and stuff already. So it's a blank canvas. So I'm excited about Eternals. Looks great. I'm sure visually it'll be really good. And Kumail Nanjiani got absolutely ripped for that movie. So I'm curious to see how he does. And then number 1, Spider-Man, No Way Home. I have done a full 100% media embargo on that. I don't want to read any news. I don't want to see any trailers. I don't want to anything. I want to experience everything in that movie the first time while I'm watching it. I did see some GIFs from the trailer pop up on Twitter, which I was like, but I already knew that, like, Alfred Molina was back as Doc Ock. Like, there's the casting news that gets leaked out throughout, because I follow a lot of movie news sites and I'm really interested in the Marvel stuff. But to know that Willem Dafoe is back as Green Goblin, it's like, how much would you mark out watching that happen in the theater if you didn't know about it versus you read it was going to happen 7 months before the movie came out, right? And imagine you didn't know Alfred Molina was back as Doc Ock and you're watching a movie and whatever multiverse shenanigans happen, and then here he comes out with his tentacles and Doc Ock is back in this thing. That'd be a crazy cinematic experience that's essentially taken from you by watching all the previews and stuff. So I'm over the moon excited about that movie. I think it's gonna be great. Tom Holland is the perfect prototypical Peter Parker Spider-Man. Yeah, that thing's can't miss. That thing's an absolute layup. I'm psyched. I can go all day.
Well, I'm just excited, when Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire set foot on that screen, because we all know what's going to happen.
Yeah. And I wish, that's the one thing, if they would have, I had wanted them for so long to confirm their involvement in the movie and reveal it with a live action Spider-Man pointing meme, right?
Exactly.
With the three of them in costume pointing at each other. I thought that would have been a real fun announcement, but that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's something that would have absolutely blown my mind out the back of the theater if I didn't know it was coming. And I'm sitting there watching the movie unfold. And that's just with visuals and stuff too, because the trailers and commercials, they're going to put a lot of big stunts in there and a lot of big action set pieces. One of the most recent movies I did the media embargo on was that last Mission Impossible. The only thing I had seen before that movie came out was Henry Cavill charging up his arms for the bathroom fight. That was it. And that was a breathtaking movie-going experience to watch all that play out because, not to go on forever, but, you go to the movies enough, you start to make mental checklists in your head of scenes, right? So as the movie's folding out, it's oh, they haven't done anything with the helicopter yet. So there's obviously going to be a big helicopter chase. So you're kind of filling in the gaps on your own as you're watching it, which, for certain movies, okay, fine. But for stuff you're really looking forward to and that's special to you, I would want to experience it all for the first time in the theater.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. So Mike Reed says, hey, boys, but you know what? If you want to interact with us, if you want to ask us some questions, just throw some questions in the comments and we'll try to answer them. So once again, if you head over to area51sportsnetwork.com/betting, you can get $600 added to your initial deposit. So make sure to do that when using bet99.com for all your betting needs. Okay, so if people can't tell, you are a little bit of a 76ers fan here.
I also want to say hello to Mike Reed. Hi, Mike.
So let's jump in with them right away. So Bet99 has them over under 50.5 wins this season. So there's a couple questions here. Do you think that line changes if Ben Simmons comes and actually plays? Because we all know that he's basically holding the boombox outside of Joel Embiid's window right now.
Yeah, absolutely it does. Sorry, it's a little warm in here. I'm just going to get my 2018 Ben Simmons Rookie of the Year shirt going. Yeah, no, they're an entirely, different team with him on the court. There is obviously still a trade, potentially looming for them, but I think their fortunes as far as where they go in the East and how many games they win are directly tied to Ben Simmons. They still have a really solid supporting cast. If they're able to trade him and get comparative value back, I think I would take the over on that for sure. I mean, 50 wins is tough. They did that last year. But yeah, I'd probably say with him, I'd take the over on that. But without him, I'd go the under, and they're going to have, some issues this season, depending on what they get back. It's tough.
And then on the defensive player of the year right now, Bet99 has Rudy Gobert at plus 290 and Ben Simmons at plus 400, followed by Anthony Davis at plus 520. And then you got Antetokounmpo and the rest. So do you think that Ben Simmons can produce a defensive player of the year performance this year, no matter what team he's on?
Hard to say. That's going to change and shift dramatically based on what team he's on and what system like he's a part of. I would probably give the edge to, I wouldn't say it's Gobert, Simmons, Davis. I would probably go Davis, Gobert, Simmons if I were to rank. I think Anthony Davis is going to have a really strong year this year. The Lakers are going to need him to step up defensively for sure. I would probably say your favorite for defensive player of the year would be Anthony Davis.
And they're in the which division are they in? They're in the Atlantic Division.
The Sixers?
Yeah, the Sixers.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, these, because the NBA doesn't do divisions properly. They just kind of like, so it just confuses sometimes.
You guys are over here. We're to call it this. You guys are over here doing this. Yeah, it's not as good as the NHL.
Okay, so to win the division, the 76ers are at plus 300. Obviously, the Brooklyn Nets are at minus 304. So before we get into the Brooklyn Nets, what do you think about Philadelphia? Do they have a chance at the division?
Yes, but again, so much of it, and it's kind of the same with Brooklyn, where a lot of it hinges on what happens with one of their stars. Now, Embiid and Tobias Harris aren't exactly of the same, I'm not going to say the same level, but the Nets can do a lot of damage with Harden and Kevin Durant. They can do tons of damage with just those guys. They've also added some depth and stuff this year. So, I say without Kyrie Irving, the Nets can be more successful than the 76ers could be without Ben Simmons. And again, a lot of that factors in on the return.
And then last, Philadelphia 76ers talk for the day. Your boy Joel Embiid, third place, plus 620 for most valuable player. You got Luka and then KD, and behind him is Antetokounmpo and Curry. Do you think that, I guess, Embiid has a better chance to win the MVP if Ben Simmons is not part of the organization?
Hard to say because a lot of it's going to then have to run through Embiid and have to. Simmons, for all his faults in regards to his offense and his shooting and stuff, that guy can move a ball around and make threats out of everybody around him. Seth Curry, we saw in the playoffs, do really well. Danny Green, same thing. So without Simmons facilitating a lot of that movement, you're asking a lot of some other players, and you're especially asking a lot about Joel Embiid, and opposing defenses will be keying in and doubling him a lot more if there's no Simmons on the court. So I say without Simmons, Embiid's probability for MVP goes down.
Okay, so let's jump in. We touched a little bit on it. There is this guy in Brooklyn who is causing a little bit of an issue for the team right now, Kyrie Irving. Right now, the Brooklyn Nets are the favorite to win the NBA Finals. On Bet99, we have them at plus 210. But do you think, I know you kind of touched on it a little bit, but how much of an impact do you think Kyrie has if he doesn't show up on the Brooklyn Nets organization?
I don't think a ton. I mean, obviously, he's a guy that you want there. He, completes your team. He's a very expensive, very key component there. But Harden and Durant know what it takes to win. I know Harden doesn't have any championships, but the two of them, they still have a ton of veteran leadership with just the two of them that I think can very easily offset whatever Kyrie Irving brings to the table in that regard. I don't think, like I said, it's as big an absence and it's going to hold them back that much. With the three of them, they're absolutely elite. And I'd probably say the 1 or 2 seed coming out of the East, to be fair and unbiased, even though I can't stand them. But even without Kyrie Irving, they're still going to be a top 3, top 4 seed relatively easily.
Yeah, because it's Steve Nash right now, because Brooklyn is the favorite to win the NBA championship. Steve Nash is, of course, the projected to be the coach of the year, but it will be in, that's more of, we see that in, hockey, where the Vezina Trophy is the 3 top player, like the goalies with the 3 most wins, or you see it sometimes in the Calder, where it's like whoever gets the most points win. It feels like in the NBA, they have kind of that's kind of how they do their coach of the year, where it's like whoever has the most wins, they just give it to them.
Yeah, well, Doc Rivers wasn't coach of the year last year, so that's pretty much usually how it goes. I would love that for Steve Nash. Again, he makes me have to hold a little percentage of my heart and my hatred away from the Brooklyn Nets because I love Steve Nash. It still eats at me that Steve Nash didn't get a chance to win a title when he played in the NBA. I still arguably think that maybe he should have been a 3-time MVP and that the Phoenix Suns did him dirty in his time there. But yeah, I'd see if the Nets have the best record, then by default, they're going to give it to Steve Nash. Also, legacy guy in the league, as I mentioned, multi-time MVP, give him some more hardware. I'd be fine with it. Especially if he manages to navigate them to that top seed without Kyrie Irving all year. Because at first it was going to be Kyrie just wasn't going to play home games due to, the restrictions in New York. But now Kyrie's not going to be an active participant in the team at all, practices, away games, or anything until this whole thing is resolved. So if Nash is still able to pull a 1 seed and a top record with one of his top stars missing, that's no brainer.
Yeah, and it should be interesting because, Steve Nash came out in the media and was like, oh, yeah, we're working with Kyrie. We're seeing what we can do. He's going to play the away games. And then the next day they were like, nope, we're done.
Yeah.
We're done with your crap, type thing. Okay, so I know it's preseason, but one team that gets a lot of hype, especially out in the West, is the Dallas Mavericks, because we don't know if they're good. We don't know if they're bad. They have Luka, but it's like, what else they don't really have that defined of a starting 5. But then yesterday they go and they beat the Charlotte Hornets 127-59. So do you think that Luka Doncic can will the Dallas Mavericks far into the playoffs this year?
No, because the West is really, really strong. There's some question marks in the East as far as some ascension goes. I mean, I think the Bulls are going to have a really strong year this year and take a leap. You've got the Hawks, the Knicks, the Miami Heat are going to be really back in the conversation. So the East has a lot of moving pieces. The West, not necessarily as much. The Lakers, are going to be a power there. The Utah Jazz are going to be a power as well. The Clippers, that all kind of depends on Kawhi Leonard and how long he's out for. They could be without him potentially for the entire season. And then Paul George is going to have to carry that team. You've got the Nuggets, who, although they, beat a lot of teams that were hobbled and injured last year, they've got like Jamal Murray coming back. So the Nuggets are something that could be, a real factor there. But there's a lot of teams I would put in front of the Mavericks as far as how they're going to do in the West, what their depth looks like. I mean, hell, even the Phoenix Suns, they also, beat up on some injured teams last year, but the Suns are bringing back a pretty core group as well and play a really good small ball system. So yeah, the Mavericks, I mean, yeah, you trounced the Charlotte Hornets in preseason. That's great. You've got one of the best players in the world on your team. But as far as like the rest of it goes, I don't know if I buy into the Mavericks at all.
And one team that you didn't even mention there, the Golden State Warriors.
Warriors, yes, who are going to have, I think, a real solid bounce back year. They're not going to be a play-in team this year at all. Getting having Steph Curry firing all cylinders. Clay potentially coming back. Yeah, the Warriors, I think, are going to, I wouldn't even say surprise some people. It's they're not done. Everyone's saying they're washed. Last year, they didn't even make it in, losing some play-in games. But no, I think the Warriors are going to have a real bounce back year.
Yeah, I got to say, LeBron's complaining about the play-in game, but it's would he be complaining if he wasn't in the play-in game?
Yeah, no, he wouldn't. Not at all. Yeah.
So one more before we let you go here today. I got Rookie of the Year odds here. So Cade Cunningham is at plus 235, Jalen Green at plus 240, Jalen Suggs at plus 620, and then Scotty Barnes of the Toronto Raptors plus 1,100. Which of those 4 do you think is going to take home the Rookie of the Year, or do you think it's going to be somebody that wasn't mentioned?
I think it's going to be Cade Cunningham. I know it's an easy thing to say, but he's going to be positioned to be an impact player in Detroit, pretty much right away. There's also I mentioned a lot of teams in the East that are building and getting better, but the Pistons are a team I think in 2 or 3 years could find themselves middle of the pack in the East. So it's not like it's a total dearth of talent there, and he's going to have to carry the entire team by himself. Yeah, I would say probably Cade Cunningham is a fairly safe bet to win. Although I'd love to see Scotty Barnes win it. Why not? Raptors fans were excited when he was picked. I like Scotty Barnes as a player. The Raptors fans kind of need something to rally around and cheer about, with, having to be looking up in the standings most likely all season to DeMar DeRozan in the Bulls and Kyle Lowry in the Heat. So, a nice Rookie of the Year campaign for Scotty Barnes would be something I'm rooting for.
Yeah, I remember we had Sean on our pod on the UFO show. I think it was like a couple hours before the draft, and we were asking him who are the Raptors going to take. He's like, no question, Jalen Suggs. Like,
Yep.
he
Yeah, I
is
know.
like,
Yeah,
and then
everyone was certain.
and then they go and they pick Scotty Barnes, and Twitter starts blowing up. So, we hope for the best for him, but I don't know. We'll see in a couple years if it was the right pick.
Yeah, I'd like that just because a lot of people were pretty fired up and disappointed about that. I mean, this is a very, very important season for the Raptors as well, because they're kind of like really middle of the road, not expected to contend for a playoff spot at all. They still have some pretty top level talent there, so they're going to need to decide what they want to do and how aggressive they want to be this year, because you can see like the Bucks are going to be around. Bucks are going to be a strong team again this year. I think 1-2 in the East is going to be Bucks Nets no matter what happens. But everything else kind of wide open. I think you might see, depending on what happens with Ben Simmons and that trade, the Sixers might take a step back. Celtics will probably continue taking a big step back. And then there's those young developing teams that are going to be forces for the next couple of years. The Knicks, the Bulls, and the Atlanta Hawks, who I obviously despise for many reasons, too numerous to mention right now. But the Hawks are essentially bringing back their entire squad from last year. And we'll see what Nate McMillan does in a full season as head coach, because the Hawks were trash. And then he came in and took over and then took them all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. A lot of confidence and stuff built in that young team. So the Hawks are unfortunately a team to watch as well.
Wait, so you're saying that you're not a big fan of Trae Young?
No, I'm not a big fan of Trae Young. That's one thing actually very interesting about this coming season, which we'll see how big of an impact it has on the games. And we talked about Steph Curry, and while we're talking about Trae Young and even Doncic as well, is, hey guys, guess what? You're not able to launch yourself into defenders at unnatural angles in order to draw fouls and take extra shots. Those guys love to do that, especially beyond the 3-point arc. So with that rule changed, thank goodness, it'll be interesting to see how that changes the dynamic of some games with some of those shooters who absolutely, like Harden's another one who loves to do that. So we'll see what impact that has on the season as well, because that could change a lot.
Yeah, I do wonder if we're going to see some lower scores to start the year, at least with the adjustment of the rule change, because you're still going to have people, complaining, oh, I didn't actually jump into him or whatever, like the cross-checking in hockey kind of.
Yeah, and I watched Trae Young do that to Matisse Thybulle numerous times in that playoff series, and it drove me nuts because it's good, solid defense, and as a result, what should be a turnover now then turns into 2 shots, and as we know, free throws make a pretty big difference in a lot of those games down the stretch. So I'm really excited because that was something that was broken in the NBA for quite a while, and it's a good fix. I know the cross-checking thing's not going so well in the NHL because it's very, very ticky-tack, but that's a rule that's very, very clearly you're able to call it in the NBA, which I'm, again, psyched about.
Well, that will thank you very much for joining us this week. Yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye out for how well wow, I can't talk for a second.
It's all right.
We'll keep an eye out for how all of your 76ers are doing, plus how different teams from around the league are doing. It should be an exciting season this year in the NBA, because it just seems like, I don't know, I'm just getting this feeling like fans are back in every arena. Toronto's playing back. There's like a little bit more hype this year than there has been in the past.
Yeah.
We have players who are star players sitting out the year potentially, like one of the guys you mentioned on Van Slam a lot, Bradley Beal. We still don't know what's going on with that situation. Yeah. Like, there's just so much up in the air that it should just be a fun year.
And I'm super curious to see how that team in LA, the Lakers, not Clippers, how that team in LA is able to like coexist and function now with Davis and LeBron, what's LeBron, like 37? Like LeBron's up there now. This is a 19th season, so he's not able to just will a team to the playoffs. But he, instead of like surrounding himself with a lot of young talent, I mean, he's got Anthony Davis, sure, but it's just these veterans that are coming back, like Carmelo Anthony, Dwight Howard, having Russell Westbrook there. That's the big question mark. What kind of impact is Westbrook going to make on the Lakers? And I think being able to have Westbrook, focus more offensively, because it's defensively he's trash, will make Davis a lot more of a clear-cut defensive threat for the Lakers. But who knows? That's the team to watch, just for curiosity's sake, to see what's going to happen, because there's a lot of big names on that team right now, and this is all in for them.
Yeah, it will be interesting. Their average age is like 60 on that team, so we'll
they're
see.
They're the oldest team in the NBA by like 2 years on their average. So yeah, that's gonna be something. And also, like, who knows what happens during the season? For several years now, Damian Lillard has been the one shining star in Portland. And if they fall on their faces to start the year, he's been clear he hasn't asked for a trade, or he hasn't wanted out of Portland. That's been inconsistent based on certain insider reports. But if Portland is absolutely trash by Christmas, how do you not potentially shop a Lillard around, right? And recoup some huge benefits. And that could completely change seismically whatever team he goes to. Right. Same thing if Ben Simmons somehow managed to wind up on the Sacramento Kings, or if he wound up on the Minnesota Timberwolves or any other team he's been linked to, that changes their fortunes like quite a bit. So that's what I love about the NBA, is that like one deal could dramatically alter how everything goes. And it's going to be a really, really exciting year. So I'm pumped, fired up.
Yeah, well, like I said, thank you very much for joining us this week. I got to give you huge credits to for the Nation Extreme Wrestling. I saw that you guys just added another show at the end of the month on the 27th.
27th of November, and that will be, from what I know, the final NEW show of 2021. It's looking like that. Venue not confirmed yet, but if the gaming stadium in Richmond and the Vancouver Convention Center is any indicator, like, this thing is getting bigger and bigger and growing and growing. I don't know any talent that's coming in for this one yet, but even if you don't know who the special attractions are, because we brought in the Bollywood Boys and El Phantasmo and Josh Alexander for the last show. The homegrown talent, your Travis Williamses, your Elliot Tylers, your Daniel Macabes, like the people for a fact you're going to see at that show. It's going to be a good one. So keep an eye out for on sale dates, nationextremewrestling.com for that information for the show on the 27th.
Yeah, I know, like, I've been working for every show, but I've been watching those highlights, and it gives, like, a lot of people may not like it because it's wrestling, but it just looks a lot of fun. Like, I know when you guys were at the gaming stadium, what was it? There was a fight that got taken out outside.
Sebastian Wolfe versus Evan Rivers, two phenomenal wrestlers. These guys are ones to watch for sure. They took it outside, and Wolfe decided to wipe the glass with Rivers' face. Great fun there. Yeah, no, it's awesome. So I'd hope to see you come out to a show one of these times. The broadcast for NEW 2, which happened just this past weekend, broadcast looks like it should be up, I believe, on YouTube. I'm not sure where it's going to be posted, but it should be up within the next week or two. So if you missed that show, by all means, feel free to check that out and watch it when it gets posted.
Plus, you got your co-host of TTP. He does a big breakdown, the stanchion. There's a YouTube video that just went up of him talking about New 2. So Make sure to go check that out for sure.
Yeah, he's an award-winning journalist, apparently. I haven't seen the award or verified what it is. But no, Wyatt's doing great work as well. He's, backstage talking to the wrestlers before and after their matches and getting those inside scoops. So a lot of those videos, a lot of that content will be trickling out on nationextremewrestling.com as well. So a lot of exciting stuff happening with this company.
Yeah, the real question is the award for making your life miserable with Bing quizzes.
Probably. Yeah, that sounds right. That's an undisputed award right there. I would never question that because, oh, Lord, he does.
Okay, so why don't you shout out all of your socials, all of your shows one last time before we hit the outro here.
All right, at JBoneMancouver on Twitter. You can see it right there. Podcast, Trust the Process at TTP Show Van on Twitter, breaking down the Canucks, the 76ers, the NHL, NBA, NFL, movies, music, pop culture, the whole bit. At the Movies 10 Years Later, cinematic podcast reviewing whatever movie was number one at the box office 10 years ago. We have Van Slam. That's on the Area 51 network with Joshua Griffith and Sean Warren. And then the NEW Wrestle Nation at NEW Wrestle Pod on Twitter. And that's it. Yeah.
For now.
That's it for now. Yeah. I don't know if I can handle a fifth show. People are going to get mad. I got no time for them. But yeah.
Yeah. Stories from the fitness gym.
Yeah. That sounds good. Well, yeah. Or maybe like an Are You Afraid of the Dark podcast or like a Premium Rush podcast.
Yeah, you guys with your niche TV shows and movies, just throwing it out there.
That's right. It's just it's more special if it feels like it's something you share with a handful of people as opposed to millions. So,
and make sure to check out TTP, Trust the Process, because they will be reviewing eventually. I have been promised that you guys will be reviewing the Netflix interactive
Undertaker
TV show. Yes,
that's right.
I have very low expectations of it, and I feel like it's just going to be painful. But
yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, we've been in discussions thinking about launching a Patreon for a long time. Like with our content, we just think it's really silly. We always kind of feel bad charging anybody anything for it. But yeah, we're looking at doing a Patreon. That would be something that would probably fall into that. We'll do it one way or another, whether we do a small Patreon or we just do it for free. But yeah, we're going to review that for you because we said that we would. So.
Okay, well, make sure to check out all of the all of the websites, all of the podcasts. God,
we're on GeoCities, we're on Alta Vista. Yeah, it's all good.
Make sure to check their MySpace page out, and you'll be good to go.
Yeah. So, I should share my MSN too and my ICQ if you got time.
If you need him, you can just give him a little bit of a nudge.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you once again, Bowman, for joining us. This has been the UFO Show episode Sweet 16 here on the Area 51 Sports Network.
Thanks, Dad.